Niraj Singh, the co founder and CEO of Spinny, loves cars. And while this may come across as a bit of a spoiler, I'll still tell you. When I asked him what would be the few things he would take with him to a deserted island, he hesitated a bit and then said, I would take my car. He tells me it's the only real personal space someone has. And as a daily driver and commuter, I completely agreed with him. Neeraj talks about how buying a car is one of the 3 or 4 milestones a person has in their life. And yet, buying a used car is still often a messy affair because trust or guarantees are hard to come by. It's a large problem in our society, he says. And solving a problem like this is the only way to build products that last a lifetime. So it wasn't surprising that Neeraj and his co founders set up Spinny, a used cars marketplace. It was last valued at $1.8 billion. The used car space, though, is extremely overcrowded and overfunded. While more and more Indians are comfortable today buying pre owned or used cars, on the supply side, there are so many sellers and platforms already. So I asked Neeraj, why would he go into a market rife with over competition and overfunding? And that's when he broke down the used cars marketplace for me. A marketplace that, he says, behaves differently from most others, where the key to solving for supply actually goes back to demand. And he tells us why this is. Welcome to episode 28 of First Principles. I'm Rohin Dharmakumar, your host. Across 90 minutes of this episode, Neeraj and I talk about the courage and tenacity it took to get through 8 years of rejection. Why there's no longer a difference between a used car buyer and a new car buyer. Identifying the pain points of the industry you're in. What kind of people succeed at Spinny? How to build trust within your company. And of course, cars. You can also find the full transcript of this episode on our website. The link is in the show notes. I hope you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. You've spent 8 years and earned zero.
I take salary.
I'll come back to this. You were academically excellent. You got into IIT Roorkee in 2002, if I'm not mistaken,
Yes.
in the architectural engineering stream. And then you said that's not enough. And then you took the IIT exam once again. And the next year you got into IIT Delhi in electrical engineering, right? So most people struggle to get into an IIT the first time. I did too. You did it twice. And then after passing out, you started your first startup, which, if I'm not mistaken, was Locus Education.
Yes.
After a few years, it failed.
Yeah.
And then you started your second startup, which was Tech Monkey,
Yeah.
and that failed too.
Yeah.
And that's when, you started Spinny, and then I think you've met lots of VCs during that time. With all these startups, I think you probably pitched to some 200 odd VCs based on my research. And one of those VCs told you that you've spent 8 years and earned zero. What was that? What did the VC mean?
Basically, it took me close to 4 years to raise my Series A round of funding. So in those 4 years, we struggled a lot. We pitched to almost everyone we could have pitched, and lots of rejections, and multiple rejections from same people also. So that time, I used to get this feedback very frequently that things are not working out for you, and your category is overcrowded, overfunded, everything is done and dusted. All
And
positions.
plus, you've got these two earlier startups as well, where people are saying you haven't succeeded.
Yeah. So that was a very common feedback during those days.
Did it shape who you are today?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So,
We'll come back to that.
yeah.
Well, welcome to First Principles, Neeraj. I'm glad we're finally speaking today. We're recording, of course, in Bangalore at our favorite studio. I'm based out of Bangalore, you're based out of Gurgaon. We're only able to do this because we finally managed to find the time to coordinate during a visit to Bangalore. I'm glad we did.
No, thanks a lot for the opportunity, Rohin, and I'm really glad doing this with you.
Thank you for your candor. There's a lot of interesting conversation ahead of us. So, before the conversation, early today, I went to Google and I searched used cars.
Okay.
The links that I got were Carvale, Cars Dekho, Cars 24, Car Trade, Droom, Maruti Suzuki True Value, Spinny, Mahindra First Choice, Quicker, Toyota Used Cars, Hyundai Used Cars, and I could go on.
Yeah.
This is a crowded, overfunded, overserviced, old, because these many of these players have existed for a while, especially Mahindra First Choice, etc. And it's a brutal market. What made you enter it in 2015? What did you see that you felt nobody else was seeing?
My personal life journey and the way I have seen Indian society played a very important role in my decision behind starting up Spinny, doing something in this category. So, I come from a very small town in Jharkhand. The name of the town is Daltonganj. Born, brought up there, studied there till class 10th in a Hindi medium school. Then I went to Ranchi for my plus one, plus two, and from there only I prepared for IT entrance. Then, of course, I stayed 1 year in Roorkee. Then came to Delhi to join IIT. And my first startup, which was in education. So we will talk more about that. But in that startup, I used to meet lots of parents, right? Every day I would meet
This was the education startup.
education startup, my first startup. So I used to meet like lots of parents every day, right? 30, 40 parents every day. And because of that kind of exposure, right? The way I could, understand Indian society and they relate to the Indian society, right? Uh, so that kind of became
Why is that? Why is meeting parents in the context of education
for
so? What did it
any
teach
for
you?
any parent, right? When the kid goes to plus 11, they believe that that is the most important, you know point in their entire, like, entire educational journey, and that is going to be the defining moment, what they are going to do in the life, what their career will be. So kind of inflection point for all the kids when they like enter plus one, plus two. And and with that kind of realization, right, I would say, as a parent, that is the most vulnerable time, right? The way they are, like, concerned, and out of that, vulnerability and concern, if they are trusting somebody with their kids career, they open up with you like anything, they will bond with you like anything. And in that phase, like, I was able to meet, people from such a varied background. For example, I have to give you example of defense, right? So, I was like interacting with even the people who were like riflemen, at the same time people who were just, one or two level below air chief marshal. And that applies to, like, all like domains of the society. So the kind of vast exposure
All united by the fact that they were all equally concerned
about
about
their
their children's.
education and career. Yeah.
What does that have to do with entering a crowded
So
used car market?
it's about people and their aspirations. So whatever my life journey is, like, most of the people in India either aspire to be on a similar trajectory, or they are able to get on that kind of trajectory. What is, like, you know uh, like a typical, a typical like case would be, you will come from a very small town. You know that education is the, only way to
It's a stepping stone to a
stepping
better
stone,
future.
right? Better future, better life. and not just earning in many ways, better life in many ways, but yeah, so and all kind of securities. So you try to study very hard so that you are able to go to a good college, then you are able to start with a good job. When you start earning, right, so then you start thinking about buying a car, because since your childhood many people are dreaming about that when they grow, then when they start earning, they will buy a car from themselves. So when you start earning, the first major purchase you plan is like buying a car. That is the like of reality for most of the Indians, right? And especially the people who come from smaller places, right? So the way the car is perceived in Indian society is still very different from like developed and modern world. So car is still like very aspirational, emotional purchase for people. So and it is like one of the most one of the 3 4 key purchases you do in your life. So I was able to see that that is the typical life journey for most of the people. And when you start earning, you think that you will buy your own car, and then when you start doing better in your career, you start doing better professionally, then you buy a better car, then you get married, then you buy a house. So buying your first car is like one of those 3 4
Milestones. I
miles
get it.
key,
You're
key.
saying for parents, class 11 is like a major milestone.
Yeah.
And those kids, once they get a job, the first car is their first, probably, major milestone.
Yeah.
I get this. But still, I come back to my original question. I buy this, but the market is still crowded, overfunded. Why did you
I'll
think?
just go there, but before that, let me complete what I was saying. So, buying your car is not just ticking that particular checkbox, right? In a way, it is a kind of stepping stone for you. It in a way it works as a certain kind of unlock for you. That okay, I did this. Now I can start planning about bigger things. So it kinds of rebuilds or builds your confidence, right? So it is a unlock, right? It's definitely an unlock. So I perceive it that way. So because of the way I understand society, I am able to, or I was able to understand the importance of this particular purchase and speciality around this particular purchase, right? It is a very special, very emotional, aspirational. So
Yeah.
so when I failed in my first 2 startups, so and when I was contemplating about the third startup, I was very clear that this time, right, I can't afford to keep doing flip flops. So whatever I do next, I have to do for a long term. Whatever amount of effort, whatever amount of time it takes, I'm ready to commit that. But it should be a long term thing, right? I'll operate for maybe 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, maybe rest of the whole life. But whatever I build, right, that should be for decades. And if you want to build something for decades, then you have to solve a very, very like major problem statement in the society, right? Something which is like very important for people. By doing good to have things, by building good to have products or services, you can't build something for decades, right? And if you build anything good to have, then it requires certain massive inorganic push, and the moment you pull the inorganic push, right, everything crashes. So you have to solve something which is really really important for people, which is like
I buy that.
right,
I'll rephrase my question. You
crowded.
explained to me from the demand side, right? You're saying there is a fundament, there is an unlock, there is aspirations. It is going to be a ongoing large market. That's a demand side.
Yeah.
But on the supply side, there are lots of players already trying to service that market. So when you started as a third time entrepreneur, and when you looked at the supply side and there are all these players, right? What did you see? Where did you see
See,
Spinny coming in?
so this market in India behaves very differently than other categories. Whenever you have to set up a marketplace or any kind of platform, it is kind of established norm that you solve for supply first, and then automatically demand will
Correct.
happen,
If you were to
right?
use the example of Uber, for instance, when it started,
Yeah.
first came the supply, I mean, to large
Exactly,
extent, and then
exactly.
came the demand
But
you
but this
generate.
category, behaves very differently. In India, in used car market, right, there are various channels, but for 99% cases, the original source is individual seller. right? There are no structured large supply platforms, right? So market is structured very differently. And for any, for any, like the kind of template we talk about, when we say you need to solve for supply first, what you actually mean is that you need to solve for supplier first. You bring the supplier to the platform, provide some incentives, and keep the supplier locked, with the platform. And with the time, demand traction will start picking up. And when there is a certain kind of equilibrium, you pull the supply side incentive. So when you say you need to solve for supply first, what you actually mean is that you need to solve
Supplier.
for supplier first.
And in a used car market, the
There is no
supplier
concept. There is no
is a
concept.
single time seller.
Exactly. There is no concept of supplier. So solving for supply at least in the Indian context. So solving for supply means solving for seller, right? And for the seller, it is a one-time selling, and it is an opportunistic selling. Buy side, it's a special, emotional, important purchase. You need to be, more than sure about quality, reliability, experience. But on the supply side, you are bothered only about the price you are getting. So it is a one-time opportunistic selling. So the question is that who will be able to provide the most competitive price on the supply side? Obviously, the guy who is able to charge the highest premium on the demand side. So if you are able to win demand side narrative, then with time in turn, you will automatically win the supply side.
What was the gap that you saw on the demand side back in 2015? What did you feel was missing in the market?
There was no guarantee of quality, there was no accountability, and the kind of treatment, the kind of experience people wanted, and the kind of seamlessness they wanted in the transaction. There was, a lot of ambiguity around pricing, lots of haggling, right? No accountability regarding the quality of the car, and the overall treatment and the engagement and the experience was also completely broken.
Hi, it's me again, Rohin. If you've only been listening to the episodes of First Principles till now, I've got something else for you. We now have a weekly companion newsletter too. It's called Surprise, the First Principles newsletter, and it goes out Sunday mornings. Each edition goes deep into a favorite mental model or first principle from our guests. Here's a few of the recent editions: training yourself to listen to yourself, embracing the opposite, choosing what you want to be bad at, not competing, starting from ignorance, and many more. It's free to sign up and read. Just head over to theken.com/first hyphen principles and just enter your email ID to start reading. I'll see you this Sunday in your inbox. So you entered the space. Now it's 2023. Hundreds of millions of dollars more of funding has gone into the sector. It's even much more crowded than what it was back then, right? Like, most
Now
of
some
the
consolidation has started happening.
correct, like it's starting to correct, but like the car manufacturers all and everybody says, like everywhere I look there is it started breaking into segments as well.
Yeah.
Luxury is starting to break
Yes.
out into its own segment. You have
Yeah.
I think Spinny Max is what it's called,
Right.
right? And there's various other things. It's 2023 now. Do you still look at the market and believe the same thing that you did in 2015, that
Exactly. Exactly.
you still do?
Yeah. I would have done exactly the way we have operated. Yesterday only we had a team meeting, right? So we are like now triggering some new verticals. I would not want to disclose that here because it will be too early. But I was showing the team the Series A deck that I had used to pitch our Series A round. So we had shared a deck with Excel in the first week of August 18 to pitch them for our Series A. And I was showing the same deck to the team that whatever we are trying to trigger at this moment was already mentioned there back in 2018.
What does that say? If the same thing is applicable today also, what does that say? When usually, I mean, over 5 years, if things haven't changed dramatically, I mean, I'm speaking as a
No, that
layperson.
is not the offering or not the like capability, not the strategy. Of course, those things keep evolving. The core belief about the market.
All right.
Yeah.
What is that? If I were to ask you today, therefore, all of this discussion that we've had, what can you reduce Spinny's USP in the market that it operates into a line? Why is Spinny different?
It it relates with the importance of this particular buying the kind of
What do
important.
you offer that you believe others don't offer?
We have a proven track record, right? If I say that we offer 200-point inspection report, right? Somebody can claim that they offer 500-point inspection report. If I say we offer 1 year free warranty, somebody can say that they offer 5 year free warranty. If I am offering you 5 days no questions asked money back guarantee, somebody can claim that they will offer 20 days no questions asked money back guarantee. So these promises hold no value, right? It's all about proven track record. The purchase is so special, so important for people. So whatever you are promising, are you able to deliver on that?
How do
So
you track
I
that?
say that this is basically when we were struggling with our uh, fundraising in our initial days. So there was a very common question almost in every meeting, that this is a non-repeat purchase, right? How do you solve for LTV versus CAC? Again, same typical question from regular
Or it's
templates.
possibly even like a real estate, like a seller,
Yes,
right? Like how
yes,
often do people buy or sell a home?
exactly. So then I used to say that, of course, this is a non-repeat kind of purchase, but this purchase in this particular category, reference plays a very very important role. So and we were seeing that already on the ground, that if you have a satisfied buyer, then within the next 6 months, 9 months, you will have 9, 10 buyers from the reference of that satisfied buyer, all the extended family members, all the friends and family. Because if you have a trustworthy, if you have a trustworthy place, right? If you know about a trustworthy place, even if you're not getting any reference bonus, right? And let's say your best friend is trying to buy a car, you know that how important that purchase is for your friend. So you would want to ensure that that friend is not getting cheated. So you'll ensure that if you know of a trustworthy place, you'll ensure that your friend goes to that place only, even if you're not getting any reference bonus or something like that, right? So on the demand side, sorry, I
No,
lost track.
I mean, I was going to ask.
I was trying to jump somewhere by making some link.
You're talking about a proven track record.
Yes, proven track record.
But while you recollect that, let me ask, how do you track? I mean, how do you track and prove a track record? Like if I'm a lay person considering selling my car on Spinny, or you're the business, you want to show that we have a proven track record. Is there some metric that you track internally at
उसको लेके
Spinny?
आता है. I was saying this reference category, right? So I believe that I used to believe that it is a reference category, and now I have started saying that this is a reference plus ref check category, right? So if you are delivering good quality product, good service, taking full accountability even after the delivery, you will get lots of references. And if you are trying to accelerate your growth by doing any kind of marketing, then by seeing your ad, or by noticing you at different places, people will get to know about you. But just because of your marketing or any kind of aggressive discounting, people are not going to buy a car from you. It's not just about getting the best possible deal, right? So quality of the car, reliability, performance matters a lot. Even though, because the purchase is very different, right? Even the whole family is going to travel in that car. What happens if the car catches fire, right? So just for the discount, or like any kind of aggressive marketing from you, people will not buy a car from you, right? So once they notice your advertisement or they get to know about you, they will start doing ref checks in their network. And if you pass that ref check, then only they will buy from you. This kind of philosophy does not apply on the selling side, on the supply side.
Yeah, that was my point, because
Exactly.
it's like there is an opposite incentives. The
Exactly.
seller is not interested in the
Exactly.
long term.
So-
Seller is only interested in maximizing the price that they
Exactly.
get. But the buyer's incentives are exactly the opposite.
Exactly.
It's long term.
Exactly. So it's a reference plus ref check category. You need to have a proven track record, right? Then only people will start buying from you.
Correct. So, I mean, earlier on you said that this is not a supplier market. So, but suppliers are important, because at the end of the day,
Yes.
the car seller.
Yeah.
If you don't have car sellers, you don't have car buyers. And you said that most car sellers will want to go to a platform that gives them the best price.
Yeah,
And
maximum
you also
price.
said that the maximum price typically comes if you have the best demand, right?
Yes.
Uh, so, are you essentially saying that better customer service on the demand side is the secret to unlocking a higher price for the seller as well? More people.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay. Give us some sense of how big Spinny is today. I mean, revenue or people, etc. Give us a sense.
So, on a monthly basis, our platform is doing sales of uh, close to 400 crores a month, little less than 400 crores. And year on year, we are still, seeing growth of 40 to 50%. And
Do you sell only cars or any other kind of?
only cars.
How many cars approximately do you
But
sell in a month?
with cars, it is a one-stop solution for all the buyers. So with car, you will get like warranty, title transfer service. Even if you want loan, you want to buy car with loan. So basically, consumer finances, insurance, renewals. So you will get everything.
This is
Whatever.
interesting, right?
Yeah.
In 2015, let's say 2015, 16 when you started, and if you were to look at your revenue as a pie chart, right? Like, and if you were to look at your revenue today as a pie chart, I'm sure it's changed quite a lot in terms of where you're making money from today versus where you were making money from then. Have a lot of the services like you mentioned.
Financial services, basically consumer loans, has started playing a very important role there. Other offerings like insurance renewals and paid extended warranties will start kicking in a significant way. Maybe after 12 to 18 months,
So
right?
in 2000, sorry to interrupt you, in 2015, 16, if I were to look at your revenue as a pie chart, would roughly 100% be the commission that you charge or the brokerage
Yes,
that you
yes, yes,
charge,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
That
No
100%,
revenue from value added
correct.
services.
So
Yeah.
approximately
We
what is that
started
split?
getting revenue from value added services only in 2019,
Got it.
and it was a very, very tiny number back then.
And then you said now financial services,
Yeah.
etc. is
Yeah.
also. So brokerage or
Financial
commission
services for us,
is
a part of value added
loans.
services only. Yeah.
Got it. So okay. So it's is what is it like 80-90% of your revenue today comes from brokerage or commission fee?
Yes, 80%.
All right.
Yeah.
You're venture funded. You're fairly well venture funded. How much venture capital have you raised and at what was your last valuation?
In primary, the total amount we have raised so far is close to $440 million. And our last round valuation was 1.75 billion. So in our last round, we raised 250 million primary at a valuation of 1.5 billion pre-money.
You said earlier, I mean, began this conversation by saying this is an overfunded category, but you said that consolidation has started.
Yeah.
What's driving that consolidation?
Basically, in 2020 and 2021, capital was very cheap. Everybody was, raising lots of money.
The zero interest rate phenomenon.
Yeah, exactly. So because of that, everybody started trying to do everything. But that is not possible, right? Your core DNA, your core strength is everybody has their own core DNA, core strength. And if you look at the origination of all the players in the category, everybody has a very different origin, and their belief about the category was very different. So now people have started going back to their core strength areas. So some people are now like focusing back to the vertical classified play. Some people are focusing back to like wholesale and auctions kind of plays. I believe that even at the steady state, there will be horizontal and vertical classified platforms in the category, and then there will be like transactional players. So we are like a transactional player, right? So we enable transactions. Then I think our nearest competitor is also a transactional player. But 2 years ago, everybody was trying to like do transactions, right? Irrespective of what their core strength or what their core DNA is. And now people are moving back to their core DNAs. So people have.
Why is that? I mean, I again, please explain to me as a layperson because you said they raised money and then everyone tried to grab as much of the pie as possible.
Yeah.
But now everyone is retreating. Why?
Yeah.
Why are they retreating to their core
Not
competence?
everyone is retreating,
Or
right?
many
We
players
are
are.
not retreating. Our nearest competitor is not retreating. So, but yeah, many classified players who are trying to enter the transactional play, they are they are retreating. Yeah.
And the consolidation is being driven by what?
So you need to like show unit economics. You need to show the maturity of the business. You can't keep buying time, right? You have to like deliver results, right? So that is driving consolidation. And if you're not delivering results, right, then if you're not able to solve the unit economics, if you're not able to show product market fit, real product market fit, right, monetization is not there in the real sense, then the kind of financing support you need from your backers, that is also not available anymore. So that lack of support for businesses not able to prove what they were promising is also leading to consolidation.
In general, across the category, I'm not asking specific to
Yeah.
you, where has the bulk of the fundraising gone to? Where is it spent in the category when the category or the sector raises
I
money
would
and
say
spends it?
I would say to educate the market and build capabilities on the ground.
So it's
So
advertising, marketing, and
yeah, so when I was contemplating to start Spinny, back then only 6% of the market was organized, right?
of the used car market.
Of the total used car market. At the moment, close to 20 to 22% of the market is organized. Right. And at the
What's
same
the
time, market has
remaining?
also grown like 12 to 14% year on year. So market is growing, and in spite of that, the like share of the organized piece has moved from 6% to 22%. And 4 years, 5 years down the line, it is expected that close to 40% of the market should be organized. So earlier people used to like do peer to peer transactions. They
So
will
is 78% which is not organized? How is that done? That's done through smaller.
40% is still peer to peer,
All right.
right?
So people
So
know each other
people
and they
know each
just.
other.
All right.
Somebody in your neighborhood, at somebody at the office, some relative, some friend, or maybe you got connected with someone through horizontal classified platforms like OLX, Quicker. So 40% is still pure C2C, pure peer to peer, and 20 to 22% is organized, and rest is like through dealers.
Through smaller
Yeah,
independent
yeah,
dealers.
yeah, through smaller dealers.
Okay. We
So this, peer to peer, pure C2C, right? This used to be like 65% of the market. It has come down to 40%, and it will further go down because there is a lot of inefficiency in that transaction. Like people, if you're doing a peer to peer transaction, right, you want to hold the seller accountable for everything, and that is not possible in a peer to peer transaction, right? You need assortment, right? You need no ambiguity, and there is a expectation of certain kind of treatment because the buying is very special. So all that is not possible in a peer to peer kind of transaction. So that is going down.
Good. I want to go back to the pandemic. One of the points you mentioned about the pandemic is how during that time, a lot of pandemic and right afterwards, there was a lot of fundraising and excitement, etc. But one of the things that I've also been reading about is how once the excitement started dying down, there's also been a shift from maybe I don't know, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, from I think just being a new car driven purchases or people buying their first car and thinking it's got to be a new car to a much more shift towards the used car market. Can you tell us a bit about this shift?
Yeah. So buying a used car is not just a phenomena linked with being limited on the budget side, right? It's also about getting an upgraded kind of product, right? Even if you have a decent budget, right, and if you decide to go for a used car option, you can get a completely different product altogether, right? So, for an example, even if you have a budget of let's say 6 lakhs and if you're planning to buy a new car, what kind of new car you will get. Even the entry level Wagoner, right, it starts at 6.1, 6.2 lakhs. But if you're open to consider options from used car market, you can get cars like Honda City, Ford EcoSport, right, Maruti Swift, right, Hyundai Verna, whatnot. So completely different product altogether, right? So that inherent value proposition was always there, but people were not sure if the product will be reliable, right? If the seller will like take accountability of everything. So organized players with right kind of offering were kind of absent from the market. With people like us coming into the market is getting more and more organized. So people are getting enough comfort, right, to opt or to buy their car from the used car market. The fundamental or the like inherent value proposition was already clear to them, but it's just that with people like us coming into the market, like prospective buyers are getting more and more comfort.
It's interesting because the way I see it, you're saying buying a used car traditionally or historically would be seen as a trade down
Yes, it was a
mentality.
massive stigma, right? Massive
But now
stigma.
you're saying you could actually look at it
If
as
you
a
look at
trade up because
exactly.
you could essentially move up or a class of or a category of cars by buying a used car. I mean, what does this do? Does this introduce now? I mean, if it's a customer deciding to buy a car, and to use your example, right? Should I buy this new car from, let's say, class A, or should I buy this used car from class B? So now the comparison is, earlier what would happen is the customer would have like a budget and say, in this budget, what are the class A cars available? Now you're saying in this budget, it becomes a class A versus class B decision.
Precisely that.
But
Earlier
what
there
does
was
that
a
do to new car sales? Does it? I mean, as a layperson, I would assume that if more people are trading up to class B used cars, it will at some point have an impact. And I think
no, the overall market is growing. And earlier there was a clear segmentation that these people are like clearly new car buyers and these people are like clearly used car buyers. Now those boundaries are getting blurred. So, people are like car buyer. They have a budget and requirement in their mind and they are looking for the best possible product they can get with that budget and then for that particular
is
requirement.
that mentality shifting? Because this used to be a
That stigma is going away, right?
it was also a generational mindset where
Yes.
I think the older generation, and I think probably I consider myself part of that generation as well, that if you bought a car, there was a certain difference between a did you buy a new car or a used car? Is it, and you deal with consumers and you study consumer behavior all the time, is it that the younger generation didn't grow up with that and therefore they're much more comfortable?
Younger generation is far more aspirational, right? And the kind of product they want that ASAP, right? So it makes lots of sense for them, right? And for them, like trust comes relatively easier. They're okay to experiment. They are like fine trusting people. So, yeah.
Interesting. um, you run a consumer business day in and day out, you're observing consumer behavior. Tell us some of the interesting things that you might have observed between the differences between what consumers say they want, which is explicit wants, versus implicit needs that they may not, which is sometimes revealed through their behavior, right? And you must have seen this as a founder as well, right? You ask someone a question in a survey and they'll say one, two, three, but when you look at their revealed behavior through their, when they're what they're doing in the real world, it's something different. Are there any interesting contradictions that you see in the used car market among consumers that reveal these kind of contradictions, that what people think?
You conduct any kind of survey or go through any kind of report, the common perception you get, and even this comes out in all kinds of surveys also, that supply side it is already, the selling side it is already clearly established, but even on the demand side, when you are a buyer, most of the people believe, and that is how most of the people also respond in various surveys, that price is the like most important factor, but that is not the reality, right? So of course the quality, the experience, transparency, performance, accountability after the sale should be given. All this should be like table stakes, But once like these are kind of assured, then price plays the most important role. It plays a very important role, but on the ground we are seeing it every day that it doesn't play the most important role, right? So their budget and everything is like so fluid, so flexible. So once you are like evaluating options,
Okay, great. I mean, I want to use a comparative analogy because that struck me immediately, right? It's like when we talk about employees, the most common misconception is that employees are satisfied or not satisfied based on their salaries alone.
yes,
But that's
yes,
not true. I mean, I'm
right,
seeing a comparison here, right? Like, that people buy cars based primarily or solely on price,
right.
or employees, right? But in the case of employees, we now know that some of the things that they anchor to are that, like, the team that they're working, is it, does the company have a mission, etc. What is that on the car buying side? If price is not the most important thing, what are some of the surprising?
Everybody has a personality, and somehow they are wanting their car to mimic their personality. So subconsciously it plays a very important role, when people are making their
Could I
decision.
ask you for an example, perhaps, like of this personality playing out in car purchase decisions?
There will be people like who would want to drive only an SUV with a very strong road presence, right? Something like Thar, something like Jeep Compass or Fortuner, Endeavor. But there will be some people who have like some sober kind of personality. They want SUV for functional reasons, but they don't want to be loud,
So
and
identity plays a big role, right?
exactly.
And so
So
therefore, if that identity match happens, then I'm willing to forget the
exactly,
price element.
exactly. Yeah.
Interesting. I want to go back to the strong word of mouth element that you
Yes.
talked about. You've talked about in your.
This category is, sorry for interrupting you, but
Yeah.
this category is all about word of mouth, nothing else.
How do you drive it? Word of mouth is the ultimate form of
You
marketing for
cannot
any company.
you
How?
cannot fake it. You cannot engineer it. Authenticity, and just keep delivering quality experience, just keep repeating it.
Okay, I mean, I want to challenge you a bit there.
Yeah.
There's this Hindi saying, "Neki kar aur kuएं में फेंक," right? Like you're saying, at some level, let's take two businesses, right? One business is that we'll give them the best experience,
Yeah.
and let's see where the chips lie. Like they'll, and another business is we'll do the best,
Yeah.
but we'll also try and engineer and make smoother to do word of mouth and referral. So my question was that do you as Spinny do things beyond offering a great experience and being trustworthy and reliable? Do you do things that make it easier for word of mouth to happen, referrals to happen? Is there anything structured that you do?
Yes. So till December 21, right, we had never done any brand marketing campaign. We did our first brand marketing campaign only in 2022. And in 23, again, we are doing like back to back two campaigns. We did in IPL also, and in this World Cup also, we are doing in a limited way. But till December 21, we never did any brand marketing campaign because we wanted to ship certain number of cars on the ground first, so that people have first hand experience. There are enough like brand ambassadors in terms of satisfied users on the ground. And after that, once you start advertising, there are people on the ground who can vouch for you. Okay, whatever they are claiming, it is right. I have seen it firsthand. So that was one. Second, now we have like lots of cases where like people are driving our cars for last 3 years, 4 years, and they are more than happy, more than satisfied. There are people, you won't believe, right? There are families who have purchased more than 10 cars from us over last 2 to 3 years, and there are lots of such stories, right? So we are now in a process of making some creatives around those stories, and engaging those customers to help us capture that, capture those stories, and do some kind of distribution, while making also them a party to it. So, and third, we have now started solving some kind of offline presence also. So we have started creating spinny parks. So that is playing a very important role.
Sorry, what's a spinny park?
So, for example, in Bangalore, when you go to the airport, so just after the Yelhanka airstrip, you see a spinny park on the left side. So it is a car yard kind of. It has a parking capacity of close to 1,000 cars. So that is a customer facing outlet. So earlier we used to operate from dark stores kind of, arrangement.
Where this is where you store your inventory.
Yeah, you store our inventory, and either you can request for a doorstep test drive, doorstep delivery, or you can, after finalizing everything online, you can visit our warehouses and double check the car and can collect the car. But now we've started opening like spinny parks, right? So facilities over which are like on the major roads, visible from the road. So that is kind of reiterating the confidence and the kind of comfort we want to provide to people, that operating with such a large facility. Okay, we had heard about Spinny, somebody was talking positively about Spinny, and now this is a big facility. So reiterating the belief that is kind of getting built basically among in our audiences.
Do you have any kind of a referral scheme where you encourage people to?
No. So we don't believe in paying a reference incentive or reference bonus.
Why?
Because that would be very contradictory to our belief that it is a very important purchase. If it is a very important purchase, then people will refer us if they want good for their.
And trust is important. If I know that the person who's referring a brand is being paid by the brand, then I'm not likely to trust them as much.
If your friend wants to buy a car and you know that this is a important purchase for your friend, then you would ensure that if you know about a trustworthy place, then he or she goes only to that place. Right? It doesn't require any it doesn't need any reference payout for you from that particular brand or player.
Good.
It's about your desire to ensure that your friend is not getting cheated, right, for this kind of important purchase.
And for that, you shouldn't need a financial incentive.
Exactly.
Okay. You said, and I agree with you, that buying a used car or selling it is a one-time purchase, or is a one-time transaction. But you also said that
It's not one time, but not that frequent.
All right. That's exactly where I'm leading at, right? So if I buy or sell a car on Spinny, I profess I haven't done it. What is the cost? Like when the transaction happens, does the customer journey for you as Spinny end? And if they have to buy a second car or sell a second car or a third car, is there any kind of a continuity post the transaction at Spinny?
Yeah. So ideally it ends after 1 year from the time of purchase.
Which is your warranty period.
Yes. But now we are trying to change that. We want it never to end. So now we are coming with extended warranties and other, post-sales services, so that engagement is always there.
All right. Thank you. I think that allowed us a great understanding of the used car market. I'll lead with another quote made by you. There is no investor in the country जिसको मैंने pitch नहीं किया था. There is no investor in the country whom I haven't pitched to. I've had 200 rejections.
Yeah. 200 was just a vague number. I would say more than 200.
More than 200 as well, right? What did you learn from those rejections?
Many things, right? So very humbling experience. Initially, I used to blame those people. समझ नहीं रहे, they are not getting what I am trying to convince and all. But finally, I realized that they were right. So gaps were, on our side only. So we were not able to convince that in spite of market being so crowded, so overfunded, why a new player is required. Something was clear in our head, but maybe we were not able to articulate, we were not able to convince, or maybe we were not able to show results, on the ground. So my clear realization was, just the pitch or story, or just just showing some kind of persistent chase is not going to help. So we must acknowledge that actually market in reality is overcrowded, overfunded. So we have to prove each and every part of the hypothesis that we are trying to present to people.
Could I ask you for that hypothesis? Could you break it down like into a very simple version? Like if you said there was a hypothesis with steps. What was the hypothesis?
So our we were saying that in this category, first you need to solve for demand side, and if you need to solve the real pain points of the category like quality, transparency, pricing, accountability, then without having a full stack model where you are owning the entire value chain end to end.
What does that mean when you say owning that? Because I understand that you did sort of like a pivot between 2015 and 17, where you
Yes.
moved to the full stack model.
Yes.
What was the full stack model?
So basically, taking exclusive control of the inventory, the car, right? Refurbishing the car, right? And if the car is exclusively in your control, then the buyers can spend as much time with the car as much they want it, right?
What that means is that the same car is not being sold on multiple platforms. It's with you.
So in our first model, it was a C2C managed marketplace kind of model, right? So basically, car used to be with sellers only. We will we will inspect each and every car, and only the cars beyond a certain quality will be onboarded on our platform, right? And whatever findings we have during the inspection of the car, everything will be like shared very transparently with all the prospective buyers. So we thought that with this kind of information dissemination, we will eliminate information asymmetry that should be able to solve the mistrust problem, and we will do complete handholding of both sellers and buyers, and everything will happen in our presence. So that will minimize the friction on the ground, and that should result in good experiences. So we started with that kind of approach, but that was a very inefficient and with very inefficient, and in that model we realized that actually this will lead to something which I don't want to say on record. So this will go to full stack, and then it will go to inventory holding, and then it will go to some regulations and all.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's switch to a different question then. Let's switch to something that you've said in the past. Like I'll go back to the question that I asked you earlier. Something that a VC told you. You've spent 8 years and earned zero. And I think your response to that was, how is 8 equal to zero? Like, what does that mean? Like, what
Yeah. So
emotionally, what were you thinking, and what were you saying? What did you mean by how does 8 equal zero?
so so basically, Rohin, that was before starting a Spinny. So I was contemplating a Spinny, and this conversation was from that time, because I had already failed in two startups, right? So after college, kind of, I had already spent 8 years, and practically I was nothing in the hand. So that is when that comment came कि 8 साल हो गए कॉलेज के बाद, and like you have earned nothing, and still you have courage to like contemplate
The third
the
startup.
third startup. So I was like, two things there, right? So first, I was already at the rock bottom. I thought कि इससे बुरा कुछ नहीं हो सकता है. So I am already at the worst. So there is no point, backing out now. I am already at the worst possible scenario, and at the rock bottom. So whatever worst could have happened to me, it has already happened. So there shouldn't be any fear. So that was one perspective. The other perspective was कि, of course, so कुछ material नहीं है, right? So but there is a lot of learning. There is a lot of insight. So I shouldn't be giving up now. I should like try to tap whatever insights, whatever learnings I have accumulated, I should like try
So there
to.
were 8 years of learnings,
Yeah,
not zero. That was your point.
exactly. That was my point.
But I must also ask you, what continued to give you the courage and support after 8 years? Like you said, you graduated and then you spent 8 years, and I can imagine the immense pressure, right? Like, your batchmates are possibly like, doing, I mean, these are great years to have done well in tech, etc. There's your family. Were you married at that point?
Yeah, by that time I was already married.
Okay, great. So you've got your family, you're married, you've got your colleagues and friends. And I'm sure you're getting these questions not just from yourself, but from others as well, right? Like, what was your source of support during these times?
Family was very supportive, right? Of course, family was going through lots of suffering because of my choices, but still they were not giving up on me. And if you look look at my journey since my childhood only, right? So you won't believe that till standard fifth, I used to fail in every subject in every exam. I was not good at studies. I started focusing on studies only in standard sixth.
What changed?
Something happened, right? Something happened in the family, and that changed the way. Of course, I was very young, so all reactions were like very naive. But as I started focusing on studies, and then final exam of standard six, I came third in my class. Then first terminal exam of standard seventh, I came first, and then I always came first. Then very interesting incident. So I always I'm always a like of proponent of self study, right? So nobody can feed you everything. You just need guidance, right? Some framework. You have to like, and studying is not that hard. So all you see on EdTech and all, it's all hyped. There is a reason I never did anything in education after my first startup. I promised myself that I'll never do business in education again.
Right. What was the reason?
I'll come to that, right? So, but continuing with the like original, right? So, I always had this attitude of never giving up, right? So, in standard ninth, right, one fine day, my school principals and all like top 6 7 teachers of the school came to my house, and they requested my father that he's not coming to school. His attendance is like just 11%, 12%. So please request him to like be regular at his school. And my father responded like, he's already coming first in the class. How can I complain? So I always had this attitude of never giving up, right? So like for IIT entrance exam, I studied very hard, and I had a good hold of concepts and subjects, but somehow I couldn't do that well in the exam. So I got a poor rank and hence got BArc 5 year at IIT Roorkee. But I appeared again, and then I came to Delhi. So I always had this attitude of never giving up, and maybe I learned that from my father. So I had seen him going through lots of ups and downs, and the way he was handling himself. So maybe it came from there.
I ask you what your father did. Like,
he was a civil contractor. So,
all right.
Yeah. So maybe that was playing some role, and the kind of exposure I had since my childhood, somehow it was very clear in my head that if you want to do something big, something impactful, then entrepreneurship is the way. You define the ceiling, right? You can harness your full potential, full energy. So it was very clear that करना तो खुद का ही है कुछ. ठीक है, 2 बार fail हो गया तो I'll attempt third time also, and I'm already at the like rock bottom.
I'm curious, like why did entrepreneurship come so naturally to you? I mean, from your background, logically, I mean, sure, you could have tried entrepreneurship, but you seem to have very passionately believed that there is only one way, and it's the entrepreneur way. Why? What triggered or caused that? Was it something at IIT? Was it something in school? Is it something else?
Many, basically, in my case, and I'm not very unique. Like it is applicable to many people, right? So when I like started focusing on studies since my standard six, so I used to think this all of this, like studying very hard in your school days, then your high school, then IIT entrance, then IIT days. सो आई यूज टू बिलीव कि ये सिर्फ एक जॉब के लिए नहीं है. दिस इज नॉट just for a job, or securing certain kind of lifestyle, or securing certain kind of designation. So, and then when I started my first startup, of course it didn't work. Second startup also didn't work. But before starting up Spinny, right? So I took a little break after moving on from my second startup and starting up Spinny. So I used to think कि पहले उतना effort लग गया है, then 8 years of a struggle at a startup. So like 20 15 20 years of effort has already gone, right, to figure out something in life, and still contemplating maybe 10 20 25 years of further commitment. So combined together, like 25 to 35 years, it cannot about just a job or securing a certain kind of lifestyle or securing a certain kind of designation. There should be something like meaningful, something fulfilling coming out of this, and at a decent scale, decent level of impact. So philosophically, I think that kind of thought process was always playing certain role in my head.
You mentioned earlier that self reflection is important, and most people can kind of teach themselves anything if they kind of put their mind to it. I largely agree with it.
I really
You
believe
also
that
said,
anybody can do anything.
I fully agree. Very few things in the world are actual rocket science,
Yeah.
provided somebody's genuinely interested and self motivated.
Right.
You also said, provided there is someone or something to guide you. I got the sense that one of those guides was your father. Is there anyone else
You
you
don't
look?
need 24/7 hand holding, right?
I
Right.
agree.
Every now and then, regular sync-ups, regular benchmarking, regular
No, I mean, I'm
that's it.
asking across
Certain
the
kind of
course of your
triggers.
life. I mean, other than your dad, is there anyone else
There is
you look?
no end to learning, right? So yeah.
All right. We have this concept which is called career ladders, which is if we look at where all of us are today, we seem to have all kind of followed a certain kind of, career ladder, right? We went somewhere where we learned something, we kind of got challenged at something, failed at something, that led us to somewhere else, right? Can you just take us through your own career ladder? You graduated from IIT Delhi in,
2007.
all right. And then what happened?
Then I started my first company,
Which was locus
Locust
education.
Education.
What was it?
So fourth year at college, right? And of course, everybody was thinking what to do after the college. Most of them were planning for campus placements. Many were planning for MBAs, and many were planning for MS from US and all. So I was clear that I want to do something of my own. But at the same time, there was a naive feeling कि यार society के लिए भी कुछ करना है. So the common answer to both the questions was do something in education. So my very good friend Manan, who currently runs QMath, so we were together at college. We were kind of best buddies. So and both of us were thinking, in similar fashion. So we decided that let's do something in education and build an open education online platform, something like Khan Academy you see today. So we decided to build something like that. Of course, by that time, we had not seen Khan Academy. I think it was not there. It came. So something like that we envisioned back then. And of course, we were realizing that to build that kind of platform in terms of tech capabilities, tech product engineering, and different tools being integrated in the platform, then seeding the content, seeding the contributors, seeding the users, it will all take lots of time, lots of resources. And I'm intentionally calling you that, keep after like fourth year at college, we started our first company, not a startup. Because startup term was not common in those days. We used to say that कि
How were you funded?
exactly that is where I was going. We used to say कि खुद की company build कर रहे हैं, खुद की company चला रहे हैं, खुद का business build कर रहे हैं. Startup words exist नहीं करते थे. So we were realizing कि it will take lots of resources to build that kind of platform, and there was no support, right? Everybody was against doing something of own, right? Parents, family, friends, professors, teachers, and if even friend batchmates at IIT, everybody was like, "ये लोग बेवकूफ हैं यार, पागल हो गए, right? बाद में पछताएंगे." So we had to arrange resources. So we decided that for some time we will run IIT entrance classes also. I was exceptionally good at physics. Manan was exceptionally good at mathematics. Hence is next startup QMath. So we thought ki if I am taking care of physics, if Manan is taking care of maths, then we will beat anybody. So we will get some kind of overnight virality and it will be overnight success, and we'll do really good at offline classes, and it doesn't require any kind of investment, right?
And that would generate the funds which you would
Exactly. And
put
whatever
back into
surplus
your
money we generate there, we will use that to build that online platform. And once the online platform
You'll stop this.
we'll stop this. So that was like Locus Education. And
This
offline
is the
classes.
classic, let's say, IT services and product model where we'll run an IT services company to make money from clients to use to build the product.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. Many startups have done that, right? They do services in their, like
Daytime and product
early
in the
days,
night time.
किसी का ऐप बना दिया,
Yeah.
किसी की digital marketing कर दी. Many people have done
Got
that.
it.
So that was our services to build the product.
Got it.
So and offline classes actually, became like super duper hit immediately. It was kind of overnight success. So within like 2 years only, we were running 12, 13 centers. We were hiring only IITians. We were very young, right? And we didn't know how to like run large organizations. We had hired 40 IITians back then. It was bootstrapped, but profitable, and all the profits we were using to build that online platform. But with time, we started realizing that that online platform was not going anywhere. That was very, very ahead of time, right? People didn't had access to smartphones, didn't had access to internet, computers. Bandwidth was not there. So I think writing was clear on the wall from the day one, but in our like enthusiasm and passion, like we were overlooking it. But finally that settled in.
You did it for 4 years.
Yeah, 4 years. So when we realized that this online thing is not going anywhere, then offline classes was not our like core passion. And with time, we had realized that that was a very demeaning job, right? So you get a like 10th pass student, like someone like moving to +1, right? Amazing personality, very dynamic, very versatile personality, full of energy. That kid can do lots of amazing thing in his life. Maybe things better than IIT, but because of family pressure, or maybe because of peer pressure, or maybe because of lack of awareness, signing up for like JEE and not being able to cope up. It's not that they are not capable. It's just that they are not in that zone at that moment in their life, and they are not able to cope up.
There are so many other potential futures.
And they are signing up for this, and they are not able to cope up, and because of that, they are going into depression. Their like lifelong personality is getting distorted, and we were seeing all that happening.
And of course, parents will be like, you have to instill
So I was like, so this is so demeaning. So I don't want to do this. So when we were like moving on, I promised myself कि आगे यार education में business नहीं करना है. And from that day, I have been a very strong believer that it is bound to get democratized, right? Class 11th and class 10th का syllabus थोड़ी change हो रहा है, right? Physics is changing at quantum level. It is not changing at Newton's first law, second law, third law level. It's same, right? So limited content, so limited like. So and a lot of people, crazy people like you, me, lots of people who will keep creating content and like democratic platforms like YouTube and all. Some people will create various kind of assessment tools and various kinds of navigating tools. So
got it.
Yeah.
And what was your second term? Tech Monkeys.
Tech Monkey. It was into web media, right? So I was realizing that many people had started coming on web. Offices में सबको internet and computer मिलने लग गया था. So people started coming on web. They were spending a lot of time. But till that time, India specific high quality content was not on web. Most of the content was Western content. India specific content, you only had like news and sports and Bollywood and car photo gallery, and that's it, right? And some like chat rooms and all. So I was realizing that there should be a dedicated content platform for every category where India specific high quality content should be published. Be that food advisory, health advisory, travel advisory, education advisory, political editorials, teenage humor, right? So that kind of a stuff.
Was this also bootstrapped?
Yeah, this was also bootstrapped.
Do you have co-founders here?
Yes, yes.
All right. And you did this for how long?
2.5 years.
What was your learning at the end of it?
Learning. So when we moved on from Locus, our first company, there was a self-created pressure that we have to do something again ASAP. And the online platform that
It's like a rebound relationship. Like you do something and then it fails and then you quickly move on to something else
Right.
to prove a point. Okay.
exactly, and the online platform that we were building at Locus. So fundamentally, that was a content platform only. So we were good at content, and we saw an opportunity in content, and we just jumped in. There was no long-term thinking, no sense of purpose.
A reflex action.
हाँ, so मुझे लगा कि फिर से करना है, but इस बार I have to do something for the long term, and if I have to build something for long term, then I cannot start in haste. There should be a clear vision. These are not theoretical things. Vision actually matters, and ऐसा नहीं है कि vision matters only while making big decisions in your like company building journey. It matters every single day, even in the smallest possible things you do. So without that, without a vision, clear vision, solid vision, without a sense of purpose, you shouldn't be starting up. It's better. It's better to wait, right? That was
How
my
long did you
my
take?
takeaway.
How long did you take before starting Spinny?
11 to 12 months.
What were you doing during that time?
Angel investments, and that helped me a lot. So I kind of rebuilt my confidence, right? Rediscovered myself.
Why? Why did doing angel investments help you rediscover yourself?
Back in those days, you know, you could count angel investments in your fingertips, right? So I invested in 13 companies, right? And wherever I invested, in almost every company, my angel check was the first check in the company. So I thought that rather than going for MBA or something like that, why not start investing in startups? So even if you're not able to, recover or multiply your money, at least you will get some learning. So learning was my first expectation. Second expectation was testing myself, how good I am at judging people, reading people, problem statements, right, opportunities. So I was like, दो startup में fail हो गया, contemplating third, कुछ समझ में आता भी है, ऐसे time waste कर रहा हूँ. So it will be a good opportunity to judge or test myself. So
basically immerse yourself with entrepreneurs every day, meet them, talk to them to rediscover the entrepreneur in you.
No.
Then why did you say that it made you?
Basically, there was a thumb rule that I'll invest only if my check is the first angel check in the company, so that I'm not pulling in. I'm not.
You're
following.
not riding on somebody else's
Yes,
intelligence.
I wanted to test my decision making regarding reading people.
So your conviction is the one that emerged out of it.
Exactly.
Interesting. You said that a sense of, right now also you said that, right? Like, conscious vision, purpose is very important. You said that that's how you hire people at Spinny as well, and you found success at it. How do you do that? How do you find, how do you ensure that the people that you hire are going to be aligned or have a sense of vision and purpose? What do you do differently when you hire?
Spend a lot of time if it is going to be a critical hire, right? Spend a lot of time, understand their perspective about their life, what they are trying to solve in their life, whether their aspirations are aligning with the kind of journey we are planning with the company or not. So if somebody is really good, then,
what does that mean when you say whether their aspirations align with the company's journey?
If somebody is trying to solve just for money, right, then maybe we are not the right place for that person. It's not that, we don't want people to do wealth creation. So in our last round, we facilitated, like, we saw buyback and, internal secondary buybacks of like more than 20 million. I didn't participate in that. But so we are not averse to wealth creation for our like team members. We are a very strong proponent for that. But that should not be the only reason to join Spinny or to work with us, right?
How do you check that?
Spend time,
What are
understand
you
their
talking
life
about? Yeah.
history, what they are, why they are what they are, right? What are the like their past life decisions? What was the rationale behind that? What are they trying to solve next in their life? Their motives, their aspirations, their milestones, yeah, ambitions.
What kind of people don't succeed? I'm sure you've learned between 2015 to 2023. What kind of people are likely to not succeed at Spinny?
Insecure people.
What does that mean? What does that mean? Insecure. How did you come to that conclusion that insecure people don't succeed at Spinny? Why?
Insecure people are insecure and they will always prioritize solving for them over solving for anybody else or solving for maybe the company or maybe the customer. If you are keeping yourself ahead of other things, then it will be difficult. Yeah.
Okay, there are these. I think it's a great place for me to kind of move to your favorite mental models, and I think those are the three Ks. क्या, क्यों, और किसके लिए?
Yes.
What, why, and for whom?
Yeah.
Where did these come from? Why is this your most important mental model?
This came from my like self reflections only, right? So it's not just like at the time of starting up, right? Even we have decided to do something, then in that journey there will be frequent moments where you have to do certain kind of problem solving. You have to bring different kinds of offerings. You have to do different verticals. So it is very important to have this framework. Keep exactly what you are trying to build, exactly what you are like trying to create or offer, and who is the target audience, right? So if you don't have a clarity of what exactly you're going to build, then like you you'll keep hovering randomly, right? Things will keep going haywire. So it's better to like step back a little bit, think through it properly, and have like a decent clarity before like you start jumping the gun, right? So that is like have some clarity what exactly you are trying to build, what exactly you are trying to solve. And then the next part is that for whom exactly this is needed, right? Who is the target audience, right? Many people are driven just by the size of the opportunity. I don't think that is the right approach.
The TAM approach.
Yeah, so ये तो बहुत बड़ी
Totally, हाँ.
category है, बहुत बड़ा opportunity है, करते हैं. Everybody is talking about. That is not the right approach, right?
What do
So
you, I
I'll
mean, when
come back.
someone comes to you and says this,
First,
what do you
I'll
typically
complete
say?
these three
Yeah,
keys,
yeah,
right?
please.
So किसके लिए करना है and क्यों करना है? What all options that target audience already has? What's broken in the current scheme of things, right? So this is very important. Like what exactly you are trying to build, for whom you are trying to build, and why it is needed for them, right? So and then like this on a high level, this is derived from that one should not be like chasing the opportunities blindly, right? Of course opportunity should be large enough, big enough, but there should be a problem statement also, right? There should be a room for you to add some value. If there is no room for you to add some value, then there is no
It
point for
goes
you.
back to Spinny starting itself because you entered a crowded space.
Yeah.
And, I'm
But
assuming that,
nobody
yeah.
was focusing because some people were following a horizontal classified model. Somebody was doing vertical classified. Somebody was doing, customer to dealer auction. But the real pain problem of the real pain of the buyer, right? Nobody was addressing to that properly.
I want to stick with clarity itself, and it's something that you believe in deeply. You say that you try and ensure there is clarity from top to bottom in the company. How do you ensure this? I mean, how do you ensure?
Communication. and right precedences, transparency, authenticity. Right.
What do you mean by communication? Because it's a very generic word. I mean, I don't know. I
You
mean, like,
engage people, you keep everybody informed, right? And you encourage questions, you encourage feedback, and be transparent. Don't try to manage people, right? Everybody is smart enough, everybody is capable enough. So just in a
I mean, I asked you a question earlier when we were talking about your 3Ks, and you said that don't just chase a large market, right? When someone comes to you, say in a meeting, and say, "Look, I want to launch
that
this
keeps
new
happening.
category, and like, this is a very attractive, underserved market," and stuff. What are you likely to kind of like, counter back and ask them?
What's broken there, and what's your solution, right? What's our value add going to be?
What's
ठीक है,
broke?
बड़ी अपॉर्चुनिटी है, and and we are not sure what exact value we are going to add, then better not doing it. We should be very clear that what exact value we are going to bring to the table.
You also said, I mean, in the past, and of course in our conversation, that trust is very important for the customer. Very interestingly, you said that for the customer to have trust, it's important that trust exists at all levels in the organization.
Yeah.
How did you come to this realization, and how do you make sure this happens at Spinny? And I mean, let me step back and ask why. Why is it that for a customer to get trust? Because as a layperson, it's like for a customer who's, let's say, buying a car and like, the service experience having trust, why should it be that internally within the organization there should be trust?
As a customer, right? So everybody is smart enough, everybody can read between the lines. As a trust, comes from, of course, you need to build proven track record and all, but in the like first level of the engagement, the first sign of trust comes from consistency. There should be like consistency. अब वो consistency कुछ भी हो सकती है. Whatever you are portraying to be, that should be consistent. Your offering, consistent with your design, with your color palettes, with your copy, with the user journeys, with the data modelings, with the kind of your USPs, everything is a part of that entire user journey. The people who are speaking on calls, the people who are meeting the customer on the ground for maybe test drive or for maybe the evaluation or inspection of the car. So all kinds of engagement, not just the in-person engagement or not just the like engagement on the calls, but in any kind of digital interaction also, everything should be like super consistent, right? So trust का first sign वहीं से आता है. And it team members like who are enabling all that, right? So you cannot fake it, right? Maybe you will be able to fake it for maybe few weeks, maybe few months, few quarters, but on a sustainable basis, you can't fake it. And people are like super duper smart, right? If somebody is doing a test drive, then maybe that customer is spending 30 minutes or 60 minutes with our team member at the front line. If you are spending 30 minutes, 60 minutes with somebody, you will be able to read everything, body language, the vibe, the energy, and by the impression of that particular person at the front line, you will be able to paint a picture about the company, what kind of organization it is.
I get it. So, I mean, this is, I mean, what we usually believe at an individual level, right? That don't try to be someone you're not inside. You're saying at an organizational level, this
Exactly.
is important. How do you ensure this happens within the organization? How do you try to model for incentivizing trust, encouraging trust? Is there anything
It
that
requires lots of efforts, and it's not that just you have like one single bullet to solve for it. It requires a very comprehensive and very regular and very rigorous effort from everybody in the organization. So but the basic principles are like uh, being transparent, upfront, authentic with the team members internally, right? Insane level of transparency, taking good care of our people, being fair with our people, right? And keep reiterating what we are doing, why we are doing, and why, like how important this particular transaction is for the customer, and if you are able to help them do it the right way, then what kind of basically happiness and emotions we are going to unlock in that entire family, and getting some kind of satisfaction and fulfillment from that.
On the issue of trust, sometimes trust is also important when you're faced with a hard decision, and I want to refer to a hard decision that you've had to make recently, right? I think you had to do some layoffs, approximately 5% of your overall workforce, in August this year. What are your reflections from that as a founder and as a CEO? Because I'm assuming that sometimes both of those are, as a CEO you're responsible for the business and its survival and its
Yeah.
sustainability, but as a founder you want to make sure you carry every single person who's ever been with you.
So first COVID lockdown, right? By that time we had not raised a lot of capital, right? So we did our Series C after first COVID lockdown, right? So before second lockdown, before Delta wave lockdown. So, and our D and E was in 2022, right? So, sorry, 2021. And we signed the term sheet for our Series C round in last week of December 2020, right? So, first COVID lockdown, till that time, we were only a Series B level company. So, it's not that we had lots of cash. And if you remember, during the first lockdown, people had no clue what the COVID is and for how long it is going to be there. There was so much uncertainty. So there was a lot of pressure to conserve as much cash as you can. But in spite of that, right, we didn't do any firing, and we kept paying full salaries, every single, even the people at the front line, everyone. And in our category, the people at the front line, the people who are doing like car inspections, the people who are doing car repairs, the people who are facilitating test drives, doing deliveries. If you look at the traditional like dealerships and players, so this particular like pool of talent was suffering a lot during the COVID lockdown. They were not being paid salaries, and mass layoffs were happening in traditional setups. But we didn't do any of that, right? Second lockdown, again full salaries, no firing. Everything was at standstill because there is a lot of ground operations involved in our business. So everything was at absolute pause. But in spite of that, we kept paying full salaries, no firings, nothing. In second lockdown, the Delta wave, lots of deaths were happening all around. You didn't know कि किसके network में किसके family में exactly क्या चल रहा है, and there was a lot of black marketing and stuff happening at the ground. So we came up with a policy that anybody can avail advance payment of from the team 6 months, right? And disbursement tat will be like 4 hours, no approval, no proof. You just raise a request, message, email, anything to the accounts team. Few members of the accounts team were working 24/7 on the basically coster basis, and all requests were kind of getting processed within 4 hours, right? And after the Delta wave lockdown, I went back to the board, and till that, of course, we had never done any brand marketing campaign. So I told the board that rather than spending money on marketing or anything like that, I would like to waive off all this, whatever advances we have given to people, because we are not seeing any, even iota of abuse, right? So all like advances were completely authentic kind of. So people used it very mindfully, right? So with a lot of care, they didn't abuse our trust. So trust is a two-way, right? So yeah, so that is how like we have treated people in past. you know uh, Everybody has not just the health insurance, but everybody in the team has life cover also, term plan also, right? So we have done lots of stuff for the team. But in spite of behaving and operating with that kind of philosophy, always like walking the talk, we had to do this cut in the first week of August this year, because because of the like change in the environment and the change in the cost of the capital. We had to do certain course corrections. We were running 3 parallel platforms, right? For budget category we were running Truebill platform. For a short category we were running Spinny platform. For the Max category, we were running Max platform, and there was a like dire need of merging all these three platforms on a common platform. And because of that, there was a lot of buffer capacity in the system. So we did our our math, and we decided that whatever buffer capacity we need till end of January 2024, we will carry that much buffer capacity. But carrying any buffer capacity beyond that time will be a criminal or highly injustice with the company. So we decided to let go those many team members, but still we tried our best to help them as much as possible, right? So everybody got notice period plus 30 days severance upfront payment. We allowed them to keep their company assets, and for next 5 6 months, they people who were able to continue with their health policies, term policies, and even the accelerated ESOP vesting. All that we could have done, we did everything.
All right, thank you. What is your management style?
Helping build clarity, right? So emphasizing a lot on clarity, and trusting people by default, right? Not taking too much time to trust people. Trust should come by default, and if anybody is abusing it, then course correct. But trust should come by default, and not doing micromanagement. Yeah.
What are you good at?
Helping people, I would say, realize their true potential and capability.
What is it that you feel you add most value to Spinny as its CEO?
Clarity, and reiterating the need of customer experience obsession.
I get the sense that, I mean, you said in so many words as well that you're self reflective, you've taught yourself various things. I want to understand, do you have any kind of like a conscious knowledge collection, assimilation, storage process? How do you come across?
I ensure that my calendar is not fully packed every single day. So there will be days, right, where first 4 5 hours of my day there won't be anything on my calendar, and I allow myself just that free time and all the reflection and all just
What do
keeps
you do
happening.
during your free time?
I'm not trying to do anything intentionally.
What does that mean to a layperson? Because what's the difference?
I don't know, but that is how that is my
So what do you
life.
do? Do you meet people, sit and think, take a walk?
Mostly I'm
read?
alone. Mostly I'm alone. Right. Maybe in my work, my working room. There is a working room, office room I've created in my house. So maybe in that room, maybe in the garden, maybe driving, right? Maybe sitting idle on sofa, right?
Where do you
Maybe
get
doing something with pen and paper. Maybe doing something with marker and board. Maybe listening songs,
where do you tend to
and
get your
things like
best ideas?
keep.
Is there any one place where, or are there, like, with the benefit of reflection or hindsight, are there places or zones where you typically get your best ideas?
While listening to music, while walking, yeah.
I want to talk about something
And
that you
interestingly, uh, when I'm taking flights, so interestingly, that is one very useful zone for me to reflect.
what do
And
you do in a, let's say it's a 2.5 hour flight, like
right,
you're flying back to Gurgaon
right,
tomorrow. It's what, 2.5 hours?
yeah,
Yeah.
2.5.
So what do you typically do in a 2.5 hour flight?
So I'll have my pen and diary with me, right? And all the notes are there in the diary. I'll just keep flipping through it, and then I'll just start thinking about some like pending decisions or something, some like unattended items, and certain solutions, certain ideas, like certain breakthroughs. Just keep popping up. You just need to allow yourself some free time in a very like disconnected way, and all the like all the pending items already keep playing in the background that you can't control that, right? So you just need to allow yourself some free time in a truly disconnected way, then you'll get your answers.
How old are you?
40s, just nearing 40.
All right. Are you married? Do you have children?
Yes, I'm married, and I have a 6-year-old kid. He just turned 6. Yeah, son.
What has been the parenting experience for you?
Amazing. So like the way I see the world now, like seeing your kid grow in front of
What's your son's name?
Parth. His name is Parth. So seeing your kid grow, like and going through different phases, and like going through different kinds of learnings, evolving. So that the whole perspective of life lies like changes completely. So I'm like much more thankful, and yeah, so difficult to describe in words, right? And I don't want to like put words to it, to be honest, right? But the whole experience is like life changing.
One of the themes that I see across, I think, your entire career, or actually two, are resilience and perseverance. How much do they consciously matter to you? And how much does it matter at Spinny? Resilience, like something knocks you back, you still get up. You perseverance, you keep trying.
Yeah, so I would say it's all about that. Just one thing you need to be a little bit of mindful about, right? That other than resilience and perseverance, the one thing that you definitely need is openness to feedback, right? So
Thank you for saying that. I think there was one of the questions I had as well. Feedback loops matter a lot to you. Feedback is important in the organization. Firstly, what's the best time for someone to give you feedback at work?
anytime if you're like caught up with some deep work and somebody's troubling you, of course that's nonsense. But anytime is a good time. Yeah.
Do you consciously try to solicit feedback as well? Because
So that kind of culture we have already nurtured. So
how?
initially by asking for feedback consciously, and then like giving feedback in a conducive way, so that people are not getting offended, they are not getting critical about it.
Could you tell us about what have you learned about the best way to ask for and give
First
feedback?
set the context and then provide the feedback, right? So it should come out as a constructive feedback, not as a like critical feedback. So if you're giving any kind of feedback with the right context, then you won't have a problem.
Most of the people in Spinny, I mean, and there, if you go to your About Us section, they talk about their favorite cars as well, right? And you said that, like, you love driving, you love cars as well. So I have a bunch of questions here, right? So firstly, what's your favorite car?
The car I'm driving currently, that's my favorite car.
Which
It's
is?
a 530D BMW 530D M Sport. Yeah.
All right. You said something which I hugely agree with, which is that while driving, the car is your closest personal space.
Yeah.
I fully identify with that. I have a terrible commute to work. I live in Bangalore, but still, I love it because the car is my space. What do you do in that space? Do you typically drive, or like?
Yeah, I
when
drive. I drive.
What's
Driver is with the family. I drive.
so? What is your space to you? I mean, what do you do in that space?
I listen to my favorite songs, right? I and I reflect, right? Many times, I'll just stop my car on the roadside, and I'll just start like thinking about something which is like going non-stop in head. So that's my personal space, right? To reflect, to enjoy, right? And sometimes no agenda, space and time. So that's
So if
true
someone
personal
were to say,
space.
why don't you use a driver? It's more convenient for you. What would you say?
I feel some kind of encroachment on my personal space, right?
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, it's a conversation I've had so many
Yeah,
times.
yeah,
And in spite of the bad traffic, I think people don't understand it's your bubble,
right.
right? Like,
Exactly.
it's your space.
Yeah,
You also said you love long drives.
right.
What are there any favorite long drive stretches that you've done? Or
One good thing for of being in Delhi NCR is that there are so many routes to Himalayas, right? So you can frequent all those routes.
and of course, like this is a low blow for us in Bangalore because Delhi itself has great roads. Even if you had said one of the great
Even if you
things
are
about
like traveling from
yeah.
Gurgaon to Delhi, non-peak hours, from
Yeah,
Delhi to Gurgaon, so that itself is a good drive.
correct. You read a lot. You've, I think, talked earlier about Bob Iger's Ride of a Lifetime being one of the books that you recommend.
Yeah.
Why?
In that book, like the Bob has shared everything very uh, transparently, and he has also talked about his insecurities, his struggles, and the most important aspect I see is that how like he worked as a cleaner also, right? So from a cleaner to president of Walt Disney. So the thing we were talking about, that anybody can do anything, just that zeal and perseverance and effort and like, so that should be there, right? So if the passion, and effort and perseverance is there, and if you are evolving in a right way, of course that will happen through feedback loops only, then anybody can do anything. So he's a great example of that.
Do you read frequently? I mean, do
I
you?
want to, not for some time now, not being able to, but because whatever free time now I get from work and sleep goes to my son, right? So
Parth.
very past when he was like 1 year, 2 years old, like he was not, of course he couldn't demand that much time, but he just turned 6, so he's like now very playful and full of energy, and so you have to do so many things with him, right? So much to do with him.
All right. My last question to you. Uh, if you could take only 5 things with you to a desert island, what would those 5 things be? And of course, like there
never
is no
never thought
internet.
about it that way. Never thought about it that way. But what kind of items you are talking about? Materially?
Anything. Like it's a desert island, so you're going to be alone. So it's the 5 things
Alone,
that
right? That's correct.
yeah,
Alone.
yeah,
Alone.
yeah.
Nobody from family and all. Alone. Right.
No.
Okay. Even at this moment, there is a pen in my pocket. So without pen and diary,
Okay.
right?
A pen and a diary.
A pen and
The
a diary.
3 other items?
And uh, something like to play music, right? Not
What
musical
music?
instrument. Not
I
musical
get it.
instrument.
What
right?
music do you listen to normally? What's your?
All kinds of.
All right, fine. So I'm going to be asked. I'll ask you to be specific. We got a pen and a paper. What if you had to pick one album that you could listen to? You could take. I mean, this question originates from like a BBC show where the original question is, "What 5 musical records, would you take with you to a desert island?" Right? We've modified it. But let's say you love listening to music.
So Brian Adams songs.
All right, a Brian Adams album.
And
Okay.
there is a DJ called Boris Brecha, EDM DJ.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So we've got 4 items. You have a 5th item. What would you take?
It's desert, but still maybe a car.
Thank you so much, Niraj. It's been a pleasure speaking with you.
Thanks, Rohin. It was great speaking to you.